Alright, I was feeling like making a nice tier list. I haven't done it for a year, and since it would be quite thematical with the channel, I decided to make a one with us melee weapons. And yeah, let's start digging in. The first one is gonna be one-handed arming sword, and like it's a good weapon, just in general, especially in this time because nobody's wearing any heavy metal plate armor or chainmails. So this bad boy definitely has versatility of cutting and stabbing. So with a good reach, it's definitely, I think, would be a good S melee weapon in terms of attack and even defense as well. And it's gonna be a good anchor for S tier because you know what's the best. All right. Further on is battle axe. I mean, battle axe, this one seems a little bit fantasy. It has like extra spikes on its edges, so I mean, it's not a bad weapon, but I think it is a little bit worse than sword because of its weight distribution, as well as you have to really hit with the axe edge, which is I mean, you likely will, but in case a person steps into your closer range, you might just hit him with a stick of it, which is gonna be less damage, and I think it should be around B tier. It even has a little bit of stabbing motion, but I don't think this battle axe is very good. Alright, next is a stick. And stick, I mean, it does blunt damage. It usually has a decent range, but it does not do enough damage in my opinion because yeah, it's a stick, it's a wooden, and I mean, this one is professional, it wouldn't break, but like if you just get a stick from the streets, I mean, you can probably break it while hitting somebody with it. So I definitely have to give it C tier because I give it because you can find it anywhere, and it still has decent range and does damage. Alright, castet. Castet is a short reach melee weapon. It does decent damage, but it's very short range and it's blunt damage, but it's very easy to conceal and carry, which is a great advantage. And yeah, I wanna give it maybe same with a battle axe, just because it's very concealed. You're not gonna get in big trouble if you do something with it, and yeah. Alright, next is like yeah, Wolverine claws, I guess. Let's just call it Wolverine claws. I mean, it's a step up above Knuckles, yet it has its own disadvantages, like mainly having to carry it and having to put it on, like in a fight. I mean, it's not that hard, but it's definitely not that easy, you know. If you have it in a bag, you have to pull it out in the bag. Well, sword you probably can have, like if you have a long coat, have it just in the coat. I mean, if you have a coat, you probably can put this one as well. So I guess I'm gonna just put it in B tier because yeah, it has some good slashing damage, but it definitely does not have the range and is a little bit orthodox. Alright, the dagger. The dagger is probably the most popular PvP weapon in a London server, so definitely there's for a reason, because easy to conceal, easy to carry, and does a lot of damage. So definitely a good A tier. Twin blade. I mean, twin blade is an awkward weapon. You can definitely do some fancy ass stuff with it, but I believe it's like it's awkward to carry, it's awkward to use, and it definitely does not give you swag points. Like if you pull this out in a melee fight, nobody will really think you're very cool. Alright, flail. Flail is a decent blunt slash piercing damage, I mean, the spinning of it probably gives it a little bit of oomph, but I'm not sure. I think it's a D to C tier, really. It's a decent melee weapon. It can ignore some like shields and blocks, but in general, yeah, maybe like C tier, really. Yeah, because it's decent. Just a little bit like awkward. And probably awkward to use. If you don't know how to use it, you probably can smack yourself in the head. Just with the twin blade, you probably can, by accident, maybe even cut yourself. Alright, halberd. I mean, this bad boy is definitely has everything. Like, he has cut, he has blunt, he has piercing damage. It's big ass weapon, so you cannot conceal this one. So if you're walking with it, everybody gonna see it. Yet it's a really good weapon, so I really think it should be in S tier, because if there's some kind of cavalry charge on the streets, you can just pull this bad boy, just like prepare this bad boy for engage, and you're Gucci. So I'm gonna give it I think S tier, because halberds are nice. Alright, I believe these are the throwing axes, and I mean, throwing axe is versatile. It's a short range, but if you throw it, it's a long range, longer than most of the weapons, like even sword. And they're not that hard to conceal, and yeah, I think this one is potentially S tier. You can maybe have like 4 axes, then you throw 2 of them into your opponent, and then have 2 to like defend yourself and deal some damage. So yeah, it's really, I think it's a versatile thing, and definitely decent weapon. Right, this thing, hook blade or whatever it's called, I don't know, but I think it's not bad. It's not bad, but I think if you bring this one to a street fight or like melee fight, just gonna be laughed at, and that's why it's D tier. I mean, katana is S tier. I think it's katana. It should be katana or saber. Yeah, it's cutting edge, and it looks cool as fuck. So definitely, if you pull this bad boy out in a street fight, you know, you're getting respect. So I'm definitely gonna give it an S tier. And next one is kunai. Kunais are ninja weapons, concealed, and same with dagger. It's just good A tier. You can throw it, you can use it as a knife, basically. So yeah, nothing bad about it. Alright, next one is lance. I mean, lance is like kinda halberd, but is purely focusing on that piercing damage. And it's not bad, but from what I've seen, lances are quite big and are not easy, so I have to give it a B tier, just because, I mean, it definitely has swag points, it definitely does piercing damage, it's good against cavalry, but I think it's just not very easy to use and carry, and yeah. Alright, mace. Mace kind of went down the tier, because now the meta is not anymore metal plate, so it's good. Blunt attack is has been nerfed, so it's not so useful. I mean, you're still gonna do a lot of damage with it, but it's not what it used to be, so that's why I have to give it a C tier, because yeah, at this point maybe just use this battle axe. It's a little bit better would be. I mean, this one, because of its edges, it still does a good piercing damage, but actually maybe I would still keep it at the B tier, because maybe you're gonna run into somebody with some iron helmet or something, and if you have this bad boy, you know you're gonna be Gucci like with that blunt damage. Alright, nunchucks. I mean, it's a bad weapon. I don't know. It does damage, but the damage it does is just silly. So I just have to put it in the D tier. And if you don't know how to use it, you will likely just hit yourself and look like a stupid guy. So that's definitely a D tier. Alright, rapier. S-stock. I think it's maybe an S-stock. So these bad boys are really strong in this current meta, because it has amazing reach, it has a lot of piercing damage, and as well, if it's a S-Stock, I believe it has some cutting damage as well, so you can do some good stabbing as well as just flailing it around and trying to cut your opponent. So definitely an S tier weapon as well, just because how easy it is to use, and yeah, definitely dangerous. Scythe, whatever it's called, the farmer tool. I always love this weapon because it looks so cool, but you know, it's always in the history has underperformed because of because maybe it's edge. You have to, you know, like, it's not bad, but for any reason it just underperforms. Just I think, like, if you're using this against a spear, you're probably losing against a spear, so I have to give it a C tier. I believe this is Kopesh, and oh no, this is not Kopesh. I see a little bit edge coming out, so this is like a cycle, and I mean, that's a very short range weapon. It's the slashing plus piercing damage, but its damage is not very cool, and it's usually used by communists, and it does not bring any flavor or swag to a fight, so I definitely S tier. It's still above, it still does decent damage if you get a close up range, but it just fell off with some better picks. Even, I mean, yeah, Knuckles against Cycle. Maybe Cycle would probably win, but now I'm thinking about it. Maybe I just should bring Knuckles to B tier as well. Yeah, because yeah, Cycle would probably win against them. Well, let's carry on. Next one is a spear, and spear is one of the best weapons in this server and has been for centuries because it's easy to use, it's very reliable, and does a lot of damage, a lot of piercing damage, and it's 100% S tier. Just because, yeah, you just have to, you know, all militias have used it for centuries just for a reason, because it's so simple to use. You just pick it up, you do some stabbing motions, and you do damage. So it's as simple as it gets, and as reliable. Plus, with two hands, you can generate a lot of power. Alright, next one is like, I think it's bows or, well, whatever. It's sticks with extra handles. And I'm gonna give it a D tier again, because I don't think it's that good of a weapon really. It's another stick, but wall stick has a good reach advantage and can be used as a spear. This thing is, I don't know, it's not that reliable. Just not that reliable. Alright, Trident. I mean, Trident is just a spear, a shorter spear, just with more holes. Which, I mean, can be useful. I mean, it's like a fork is more dangerous than a knife, because one stab and 4 holes, but then again, the quality of the stabs, I'm gonna give it just A tier because it's a shorter spear. It still does a lot of damage and it has good range, but I don't know, it's just gonna get nicknamed Poseidon or somebody for the rest of your life if you fight with this one. So I'm just gonna give it A tier. Fan, I guess maybe a bladed fan, and I'm sorry, but I mean, only if you're a girl this is acceptable to use in a fight. Only if you like some geisha, and that's all I'm gonna say. Warhammer. I believe this is a big ass Warhammer, and Warhammers are actually very strong if you get a hit, but if you ever handled a big ass hammer, you know that it's not easy to operate it first, and if you miss, the opening that it creates is enormous. That's why I have to give it a C rank, because with a mace, if you miss, you recover quite quickly. but with a Warhammer, if you miss, it's yeah, yeah. And now we have two just hammers next up. So I'm not sure why there's two hammers on this list. I mean, I guess this one has a little bit of added piercing damage and is a little bit smaller, so the impact should be a little bit stronger, especially against armor. So I'm gonna give it B tier, and this one I'm gonna give C tier, because this hook, I don't like this hook. It's like this one is a little bit more straight, so you know you're gonna pierce, and this one you might just hit it with a wrong edge and yeah. Alright, next up is Zweihander, and I love Zweihanders. You know, it's a big ass sword, spear thing. Like, cannot go wrong with bringing a Zweihander to a sword fight. You know, definitely has some advantages over like some other weapons, some disadvantages, but overall it's quite light and it's quite deadly, so I'm gonna give it 100% S tier. Next type is the ring from Xena, and yeah, I don't know, it's just short range, it's like a cycle, but you just risk yourself getting cut, and maybe you can throw it, but overall it's I don't know, does not bring a lot of swag to a fight, so I'm gonna definitely give it D tier. Alright, and the last one is whip. And if you've seen whip, I mean, whip can just open up wounds, it can cut you from very long distance, and the sound it makes is really terrifying, so I have to give it definitely A tier. It's easy to carry, it's very dangerous, and definitely does a lot of damage. So yeah, definitely A tier for whip. And yeah, that's the list.